Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're joining us today. Let's just be real for a second. Have you ever been told by some financial guru that the absolute secret to becoming a millionaire is just skipping your daily $5 latte? Or maybe they tell you to just budget better, even when you're already stretching every single dollar just to cover rent and groceries, leaving literally $0 left to budget? Look, if that kind of generic advice makes you want to chuck a personal finance book straight across the room, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're breaking down a really impactful summary titled Beyond the Clock, Decoupling Income from Time. This explainer is all about a radical but totally logical shift in how we actually view earning and wealth. We're going to dive into why traditional constraints keep us stuck on this exhausting financial treadmill, working harder but getting nowhere, and more importantly, how to systematically break free.
Okay, let's dive into this. It brings up a question that's probably crossed your mind, especially if you've ever listened to a wealthy entrepreneur confidently lay out their passive income streams and thought, well, that sounds absolutely magical for them, but how on earth am I supposed to do that in the real world? Seriously, why does standard financial advice seem to fall flat or even feel completely mathematically impossible for the average, hardworking person?
The answer actually lies in this massive blind spot in the financial industry. It's a hidden assumption. You see, almost all mainstream money principles, those glossy wealth-building strategies, they operate on the core assumption that your income is not directly tied to the hours you work. They act as if your earning potential is totally flexible, like you can just magically summon extra cash to dump into index funds or real estate. But for the vast majority of us working traditional jobs, that foundational assumption is just completely false. Those wealth-building principles, they simply were not built for a reality where you're forced to trade your literal time for money.
Which brings us to Section 1, the time-money trap.
Let's ground this in a really familiar scenario. Imagine a traditional 9-to-5 job, paying $20 an hour. This is the standard reality for millions of people. You're putting in your 40 hours a week, you've got a commute to deal with, rent to pay, and just life to manage, right? If you're in this position and you want to increase your income to finally get ahead, the traditional path tells you that you just have to find more hours to work.
And this perfectly illustrates the fatal flaw with that traditional path. Let's say you read a finance book and it boldly tells you to invest an extra $100 a week to secure your future. Well, if you're earning $20 an hour, the math is totally rigid. To get that $100, you are mathematically forced to find 5 extra hours of work every single week. But what if your boss strictly refuses to authorize overtime? What if you have kids to pick up from school? What if you're just so completely exhausted that you physically cannot squeeze another ounce of energy out of your body? It's like trying to squeeze water from a stone. If you don't have those 5 extra hours available, you have 0 extra money to invest. The advice literally stops dead in its tracks right there. So, here's the harsh reality. When your income is directly tied to the hours you work, and your time is strictly finite because, hey, we all only get 24 hours in a day, no matter who we are, you hit a hard ceiling on wealth building. You eventually, inevitably, just run out of hours. It creates a mathematically impossible ceiling on your ability to grow. And I really want to emphasize this point. This isn't a lack of discipline. It is a fundamental structural limitation of the hourly earning model. So that leads us straight into Section 2, why standard advice fails. If you've been feeling frustrated by all the conventional financial wisdom out there, consider this core takeaway from the source material. Most investment advice isn't really designed for the hourly worker. Just let that sink in for a second. The reason those strategies feel completely out of reach isn't because you aren't trying hard enough or because you bought that latte. It's because those strategies literally were not designed for your economic reality. They're built for a totally different game entirely. To put a finer point on it, a lot of conventional wealth-building advice requires a specific starting line. It assumes you already possess a relatively large income, and crucially, that your income isn't completely constrained by the number of hours you can physically work. It assumes you have disposable capital ready to deploy into the market today, not capital you absolutely need just to buy groceries for your family tomorrow. Without breaking that time constraint first, jumping straight into complex investing advice is practically useless for the average person. The math just won't let you participate fully. All right, Section 3, detaching income from hours.
So how do we actually fix it? Well, this brings us to a specific, vital concept called decoupling. The goal, according to the source, is incredibly clear. Decoupling is defined as detaching your income from the hours you personally work. This is the required paradigm shift. It means fundamentally breaking the equation that says 1 hour of your life strictly equals one set unit of money.
It's the absolute prerequisite for moving from the working class into the wealth-building class. Moving right along to Section 4, building automated online systems. The source actually provides one of the simplest, most accessible ways to start this decoupling process. First, you create a digital product once. Notice that word once. You aren't making it from scratch every time a customer wants it. Second, you build a website around that product. Third, connect an autoresponder. And fourth, establish an automated email sales system. So think of it like this in practice. Let's say you spend a single weekend writing a high-quality 20-page guide on a hobby you're really great at. Maybe it's urban gardening or custom woodworking. You build a simple web page for it, and you attach an automated email sequence. Now, whether you're at your 9-to-5 job or fast asleep in your bed, that digital architecture is entirely capable of selling and delivering that guide without you having to lift a finger. This creates a total lifestyle shift. In the old hourly reality, you're only getting paid while you hold the hammer. You have to be actively working, clocked in, and on site to make a dime. But in this new decoupled reality, you have an automated system generating sales throughout the day. The system is doing the heavy lifting, not just you. It functions constantly, working in the background while you spend time with your family, while you travel, or while you just continue to work your regular day job. Which takes us to Section 5, the true wealth cycle. Once that decoupling is achieved, the whole process evolves completely. Step 1 is no longer go to work, it's build an income-producing system. Step 2, that system generates income. Step 3, now you take that newly decoupled income and you invest it. Step 4, you acquire more income-producing assets. And Step 5, repeat. This creates a massive flywheel effect. Because your personal labor is no longer the bottleneck holding up the assembly line, the system actually starts to compound on itself. One digital product funds an investment, which pays dividends, which then funds another system entirely. This leads us to the most important distinction in this entire explainer. You no longer depend exclusively on your personal labor to create every additional dollar. I mean, this is the ultimate aha moment right here. When your earning potential becomes fully decoupled from your time, that hard, mathematically impossible ceiling we talked about earlier, it shatters entirely. You are finally playing the exact same game that traditional financial advice always assumed you were playing from the very start. I really want to reiterate the ultimate bottom line of the source material with this incredibly powerful quote. The first objective isn't necessarily finding the perfect investment. It's creating income that isn't tied directly to an hourly rate. If you want to use the principles of wealth building effectively, you have to shift your entire priority list. Stop agonizing over finding the perfect stock ticker, or the best mutual fund, or the perfect real estate market if your income is strictly capped by your time. Why does this matter so much? Because optimizing investments on a severely limited hourly income is honestly like putting premium gas in a car with no engine. Your very first priority must be building a system that breaks that time-money link. We've seen the brutal trap of the hourly wage, we've explored exactly why standard advice ignores that trap, and we've walked through the clear steps of decoupling your income by building your own automated systems. The path to breaking the ceiling is laid out right in front of you. The only question left is, are you ready to step beyond the clock? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this structural breakdown has given you a fresh perspective on your own financial journey. Keep learning, keep building, and I will see you next time.